It all started like any other day. We were building the frame of a house, and it started getting really hot. And as you know, it's really hard to avoid staying out of the sun when you're building a home. After a few hours, my legs started cramping up. My head started to spin. I wanted to vomit. I thought it was something I ate. Later on, I found out I had collapsed.
It's one of the easiest things to prevent. Yet, if action isn't taken early and quickly, it can be deadly. And it can happen just by working under the sun.
Last summer, I was out in the field, and I noticed I began feeling really tired. I kept working, though, because I wanted to pick as much as possible. Then I felt confused, disoriented, and it was really hard to concentrate on anything. I knew I had to cool off somewhere, and began looking around. But there was no shade anywhere, no place for me to sit down in the shade. I started stumbling around, looking for somewhere to sit down.
It's heat illness, and it can happen to anyone who works outdoors. But if employers and workers take steps to prevent it, everyone can stay safe and healthy. When you work outdoors doing physical work, especially when it's hot and humid, your body gets hot. If you don't drink plenty of water and take time to rest and cool off, you can overheat.
I found out it doesn't take much for your health to take a turn. 1 minute you can be fine, just feeling a little warm, and all of a sudden, it hits you. You're exhausted, thirsty, and very sick.
Some of the early signs include headaches, muscle cramps, heavy sweating, rapid heartbeat, feeling tired, nausea, vomiting, and dizziness. All these things are symptoms of heat exhaustion. Heat stroke is a more serious form of heat illness, and workers can often die from it. Signs of heat stroke include high body temperature, little or no sweating, and red, hot, dry skin. You can also experience dizziness, fainting, confusion, and even convulsions. Be aware of the early symptoms of heat illness, as you may need medical help. Some health conditions, such as heart problems or diabetes, put you at an even greater risk. So be sure to talk to your doctor about your work in the heat. Fortunately, heat illness is easy to prevent, and the steps to prevent it should simply be part of the job. These include water, shade, rest, and training. Drink water often, even if you aren't thirsty. It's recommended that you drink 4 cups or 8 cones of water each hour when working in hot weather. Your employer is required to provide plenty of fresh, cool water during the workday.
When I first heard that I needed to be drinking at least 4 cups or 8 cones of water every hour, it sounded like way too much. I thought that I'd have to take a lot of bathroom breaks. But being out in the sun, I sweat away most of the water I drink, so I'm not taking extra bathroom breaks after all.
Make sure you rest in the shade. By law, you can ask for at least 5 minutes to rest and recover from heat, and your employer must provide shaded areas. Sometimes workers fear stopping to rest. They feel the pressure to work and earn more money, or want to show they are good, strong workers. But resting can actually make you more productive.
As employers, we have to train our employees about heat illness, what we're doing on our site to prevent it, and how to respond in an emergency. It's worth it in the end to make sure everyone is well prepared.
Employers need to train workers about heat illness and how to prevent it. Employers also need to plan for emergencies. This includes training workers on what steps to take if someone gets sick, who to call for medical help, and how to give clear directions to the worksite.
Since we've learned what the signs are, we can now be alert for early symptoms in ourselves and in our coworkers. We also know what to do if one of us gets sick.
It's important to act early, so be aware of early symptoms. Watch out for each other and know where you're working and who to call for medical help.
Aquí donde estamos también cambiamos la manera de trabajar.
At our site, we also changed the way we do the work, like starting earlier in the morning to avoid the hot hours. I also give workers a lighter workload during their first 2 weeks so they can get used to working in the heat. My employees and I all wear light-colored clothing and hats to stay cool as well. I learned early on that when I make sure my employees are staying healthy and cool, their morale is up and they are more productive, and that benefits the whole company.
There is a law in California that protects you from heat. All workers are protected under this law, regardless of immigration status. Under the heat law, employers must provide plenty of cool, fresh water, shade and rest periods, time to get used to the heat, training, and a plan for emergencies. It's also important to let your body recuperate and cool down while you're off work. If you don't, you could be easily affected by the heat the next day. When you're at home, continue to drink water, avoid caffeine and alcoholic drinks, and get plenty of rest. What if you don't have access to the required water, shade, rest, and training? Or you don't feel prepared for an emergency?
I never knew it was okay to take a few minutes to cool down in the shade, even on the hottest days. I talked to all my coworkers and suggested that we talk to our boss about it. We went to him as a group and told him that if we don't rest in the shade, we aren't going to be as productive because we get too hot and tired, and sometimes we get sick from the heat. But if we're able to take breaks in shaded areas throughout the day, it will help keep us safe and healthy. It benefits the whole company when we are able to do our jobs well.
If your employer isn't giving you the proper tools to prevent heat illness, you can call Cal OSHA. They're responsible for health and safety in the workplace. You can report the problem without giving your name.
It's really made a difference having shade in the fields and drinking water more often. We feel better and can work harder. Now we know how to look out for each other. And more importantly, we know how to save a life.
Water, rest, shade. The work can't get done without them.